Welcome to this Thirsty Thursday edition of Liquid Lunch. You're on Newsmax TV. I'm John Tobacco. Just past the top of the hour, high noon Eastern here in New York. We're coming to you as we do every day, Monday to Friday at noon Eastern from the Question Tequila Studios. And of course, we're high atop Midtown Manhattan at the Newsmax headquarters. Downtown on Wall Street, Dow Jones has given up triple-digit losses today, down $1.25, still holding well above that 27,000 level that I think is the support that we needed. Take a look at these disclaimers here. I'm not giving you any financial advice, but I think some good news tomorrow on the GDP. May keep a 25 basis point cut from the Fed at the end of this month, and some shaky to weak news could be up to a 50 basis points. That's what I'm looking for, 50, and the market rockets on that news. Bitcoin dipped under 10,000 for a little while yesterday. Overnight, did recover. There's some stuff out there where I talked to Arbin Kane, one of our friends over at the ABBC Coin Foundation, and he tells me that since Donald Trump's tweet about cryptocurrencies, there is a nationwide effort being led by the Commodities and Futures Trading Corp to limit the buying and selling and liquidating of all cryptocurrencies and holding companies to a standard like New York State where there's a bit license. So when Donald Trump ran on less regulation, this is one area, keep your eye on it, because if they tighten the screws on crypto, the bottom could fall out of this thing quick. And when the bottom falls out and you have nothing left to say, you go to the guy who knows it all, my managing editor, Frank Morano, joins me again. Frank, good afternoon.
Good afternoon to those of you on the East Coast, and to you, John. Good morning to the rest of the country. And a noteworthy day it is, and it leads me to my first public service announcement. Now, first of all, today is one of my favorite holidays. It is actually National Wine and Cheese Day. However, it's also National Refreshment Day. So that compels me towards this public service announcement. Now, you people think it's easy to do what John and I do and just get drunk every day. Well, it's not. We get drunk responsibly every day. Now,
That's right.
Yeah. Now, I'll give you an example. Yesterday, we went out for a post-liquid lunch with our illustrious staff and some of the guests, lowercase liquid lunch being the latter. And all I'm hearing literally until the moment we got on is horror stories from after John and I left. So John and I are there, and everyone's calm. Everyone's behaving themselves. Everyone's drinking a little bit. And then literally the moment we both leave, chaos breaks loose. So you people think it's easy to get drunk every day? It's not.
That's right. And report the news and stay topical and bring on a Republican and a Democrat, talk about cryptocurrency and the stock market at the same time. All this stuff.
Leave it to the professionals. I saw our makeup artist, Cece. She had
neither of us drives.
Two cold green tea bags over her eyes this morning. Poor Ned Lamont stumbled into the studio 3 minutes after the show started. I mean, really. All right.
I'm going to outlaw post-liquid lunches.
Without us.
The productivity is down.
No, without us.
Big. I know. When we're not there, when there's no parental supervision.
Right. There's got to be.
Then all breaks loose.
Host-supervised liquid lunches.
Yeah, we need someone above 25, I think.
The National Wine and Cheese Day, the National Refreshment Day, none of those are the topic of today's Frankly Speaking. Here's what is.
Governor Ricardo Rossello will be stepping down after an uprising derailed his career. The announcement came soon after the Speaker of the House in Puerto Rico called for an emergency session to start impeachment proceedings. He said the resignation goes into effect at 5 p.m. on August 2nd. Rossello got into trouble after a leak of about 900 pages of his private texts and chats went public. President Trump is being petitioned for freedom by the man behind the biggest Ponzi scheme in the United States. Lawyers for Bernie Madoff have filed a request asking Trump to commute the 81-year-old New York investment con man's 150-year sentence. Madoff pled guilty in 2009 to 11 crimes after swindling thousands of investors out of billions of dollars over 4 decades. And finally, younger drivers are less distracted by in-vehicle technology than older drivers. A new report out today from the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety and the University of Utah looked at how drivers deal with tasks like navigation, navigation or operating the radio. It found that drivers ages 55 to 75 take their eyes off the road around 8 seconds longer than people 21 through 36.
So there you have it, John. Puerto Rico is free. Bernie Madoff would like to be free, and old people can't drive.
Well, I think the last we've kind of known. They should probably have to take a driver's test every couple of years when you get above a certain age, because there's some scary things going on the road. But you know what, Frank? Even scarier, when I go back after the show, like we left yesterday, the post-liquid lunch, liquid lunch.
Right,
I
with
cut
the
out early
lowercase L.
because I was going to play some golf, and I wanted to try to relax and free my mind for a little bit. And while I was there, I took a severe whooping.
On the golf course?
On the golf course. My friend Chris Marone and Mike Gadget gave me and Fitzy a beating. And then they had to buy drinks afterwards.
Oh, boy.
Because they won all the money.
Naturally.
And naturally, we kept them there till quite a late hour. And my friends on my group text are saying that my makeup girl did a wonderful job, considering the shape I was in last night.
I concur. And I'm very sorry to hear about the result of that golf game.
These things happen.
You're quite a golfer. Even sorrier because if you lost money, that means probably we're going to be the rest of the Liquid Lunch crew 11 weeks without getting paid.
That is probably correct. But more importantly than how we recover from a rough day at the office, don't forget, all of you at home, good players play hurt. So we're playing hard today, and we're playing hurt today.
It's true.
But we will recover. And there's no recovery for the Democrats at this point after the Muller testimony yesterday. I mean, he just kept saying the same things over and over again. And my takeaways are this. He said categorically that the president and any U.S. citizen was exonerated from colluding with the Russian government. That he said, okay? Now, the big thing they wanted to show, this graphic with the 3 check boxes, and there were 3 elements of obstruction there. The president has Article 2 powers. The president hears he's being investigated for a crime he knows he didn't commit, and he orders his White House counsel to shut down the investigation. False. He did not order it, nor did Don McGahn say he ordered it. He called him screaming and yelling and livid, saying, I want you to, but left it up to the White House counsel, who did not do it. So if he's exonerated of collusion, Frank, and he obstructed an investigation allegedly into the investigation of a crime that he knew he didn't commit, then to me it's point blank. How could you obstruct an investigation into a crime that didn't happen?
Well, so the latter part of what you said is the part that I probably agree the least with, because it's almost like saying if you're arrested wrongfully when you didn't commit a crime and you shove a cop or you punch the cop, can you still be charged with resisting arrest?
Well,
of course you can.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I always do. I want to point you, if you want to do a little research at home, to a federal case of Orlando Bouquet, who was jailed for almost 10 years. He broke out of jail.
No.
Okay. After he broke out of jail, and that was a crime he committed, breaking out of jail, DNA evidence exonerated him. And Orlando Bouquet was never charged for breaking out of jail because the idea was, well, he shouldn't have been in there in the first place, so we can't bring another case against the guy for breaking out before we figured out he shouldn't have been in there.
I mean, that makes
I like that case.
That makes sense. Certainly, though, even if you go by the 6 or 7 examples in the Mueller report of purported obstruction of justice, I don't see any way objectively that you can read that and say the president obstructed justice. I mean, it's nonsense.
Corrupt intent. The third leg is corrupt intent.
Right. I will be honest with you. I found yesterday's hearing incredibly boring. I find this whole discussion about the Russia investigation and the Mueller probe incredibly boring. I don't even enjoy talking about it because it's so meaningless and such a distraction. But let me tell you about why I feel the need to comment on it, because this Russia probe and this Russia hysteria has put the country in such a perilous place. And I'm not saying because it's distracting Donald Trump or the members of his administration, because what it's done is forced President Trump to prove that he's not a Russian agent, to take a much more aggressive tact on Russia than we should be. We tore up the Intercontinental Ballistic Missile Treaty with Russia, where on a regular basis, having clashes with Russian military assets. We are closer to war with the country that has the second largest stockpile of nuclear weapons than we've been at any point since the Berlin Wall came down. And I'm terrified that we're going to end up in a place where we're actually in an armed conflict with Russia because of the need to push back against this Russiagate hysteria. But the one thing that I also have to take issue with somewhat in what you said is you characterize this as a bad day for the Democrats. I think that's certainly true.
Definitely.
But more so, keep in mind, Robert Mueller is a Republican. Who appointed him as special counsel? Rod Rosenstein. What is he? A Republican.
Member of the deep
state. Who appointed him as FBI director? George Bush, a Republican. Who appointed him as U.S. attorney? Ronald Reagan, a Republican. So this is not a Republican or Democrat thing. This is a government insider, a deep state insider versus an outsider thing. And Robert Mueller, whether he's before Congress testifying that Iraq absolutely has weapons of mass destruction, or when he's publicly blaming the wrong guy for being responsible for the anthrax attacks, or whether he's asleep at the wheel while we're being attacked by al-Qaeda on September 11th, Robert Mueller has a history of failure in just about every job that he's ever had, including special counsel.
He did a good job after 9/11.
I completely disagree with you.
Okay.
Remember, John, those anthrax attacks terrified the country. And what did Mueller do? He got up before the public and said, oh, this is the person responsible. And turns out it wasn't. The person responsible with it got away with it scot-free.
He doesn't look good.
Didn't serve a day in prison.
He doesn't look good. He was stammering. I've seen him before. Very forceful, very powerful. He was stammering.
But what this is, John, is Donald Trump ran his campaign in 2016 on an anti-interventionist, pro-peace with Russia agenda. That is anathema to the military contractors that make up a big part of the deep state. And so that's what this is. This is the deep state strikes back. This is not a Democrat or Republican thing. If you're a liberal that hated George Bush's war with Iraq, you should be more outraged at this than anybody. If you're a Republican that's a Trump supporter, don't be fooled into thinking this is a Republican versus a Democrat thing. This is an insider versus an outsider thing. If you're for peace, you have to be furious with what happened yesterday.
I'm for peace and I'm not furious, but enough is enough. We talked about beating a dead horse. We don't mean to seem like any animals were harmed in production of this show. But stay right there. Ralph Sutton, the king of podcasts, is coming up to talk about sex, drugs, and rock and roll.